Chief Palmer to go ahead and make the roll call, and then we'll have prayer after that.
Okay, Leota Sampson. Anthony Conley.
Here.
John Narkamy.
Here.
Rena Tiger.
Here.
Anastasia Pittman. Terry Edwards.
Just a moment, Chief, if you would. Yes, press your button on the right when you speak. Thank you. Go right ahead. Thank you.
Ida Gonzalez.
Here.
Tamara Downey.
Here.
Nancy Fixico.
Excuse me.
Leon Petit.
Here.
Joseph Billy.
Here.
Delois Harjo.
I'd like to see she excused. She's under quarantine.
Okay.
Okay, that's acknowledged. Thank you.
Karen Fulbright. Ann Borba.
Here.
Stephanie Lambert.
Here.
Sina Yeslith.
Here.
Lottie Cootie. Ella Coleman.
Here.
Shirley Watkins.
I ask that she be excused today for a personal matter.
That's noted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tiffany Thomas.
Here.
Wayne Shaw.
Here.
Catherine McCoy.
Here.
Charlie Hill.
Here.
Tiffany Cully.
Here.
Danita Harjo.
Here.
Willis Dethridge.
Here.
Desiree Emerton.
Here.
Okay, we've got 22 present.
We have 22 present, so a quorum has been established. This meeting is now in session. I'm going to ask Mr. Edwards, Representative Edwards, to provide the invocation. Thank you.
Good day, dear Lord. Things faithful in your eyes, dear Lord. Also, we pray that the things that we do and say here will be good for the right reason. Jesus Christ is right. Amen.
Amen. You may be seated. Thank you. As we know, we do have a temporary secretary that has helped us the last couple of meetings, and we're going to have to do that again. So by consensus of the General Counsel, Susie Harjo is willing to also do this quarterly meeting as the temporary secretary for this meeting. Are there any objections to that? If there's no objections, then we have a consensus of the council. Ms. Harjo, if you would, go ahead and come forward. Okay, readings of the minutes of the last meeting will be addressed at another time. Ms. Harjo has finished some of those minutes as of the last day or so. So it didn't get in on the web, on the portal and distributed to the council, so we will address it at another time. There is no unfinished business at this time, so we're at the reports of committees. Representative Cootie?
After the agenda, under other business, I'd like to address our why we don't have a representative.
other business has to be established at the beginning of the agenda normally. And this is to address, what is it? Your
Seating our, other
representative, seating your representative. I think it's clear in the codes, so what has to be turned in for that particular certification by the election board. And if the council deems that necessary to place that other business at the end of the agenda, we'll have to have a motion to that effect. If there's, is there objection to that? Place under other business? Now, executive has spoken with Nuthka Parjo about this and provided the documents that's there and the forms that's needed for that certification, $15 fee, the minutes of the meeting, the sign-in sheet, and those types of things. Unfortunately, those things weren't provided, for the chief to be able to address it today. I wish that they would. We sure would have seated that representative if that would have been done.
Chief, that's not true. We did present minutes and a sign-in sheet, and I had asked you 2-3 times, have you seen the paperwork and everything? And it had been in your office for about almost 3 weeks, and you said, yes, we'll make sure that she's seated and everything.
I would
Had you looked
if
at
all the
it
paperwork
and
was
got back with
completed.
us on the other things, we would have
I was
taken
under
care
the
of it.
impression that NUTHCUP knew the laws of the nation and would adhere to the election code along with those documents. Those things were not provided to the election board. What I have in my office is the minutes of that meeting on August the 12th. That's what I have.
Well,
And no other paperwork, no
Your secretary said she misplaced them and she don't have them, she couldn't find them. So I don't know what's going on in your office, but that's what happened.
Did NUTHCUP get this certified through the election board? Because I have a message from the election board that NUTHCUP did not do that. So, you may state that this was done and that was done, but those provisions were not completed. And but does the council want to address this under other business? Is there any objections to add other business to the agenda? There's an objection, we'll have to go to a vote to place other business and pertaining to NUTHCUP's vacant seat and their seating of that vacant seat with their council representative. So, Secretary, we're going to have to go to a vote for that because there's been an objection by Representative Gonzalez. And we're going to do, other business is usually placed at the beginning of the agenda, so that's why we're doing this right now. Okay, I'll speak up just a little bit more. Is that a little better? Thank you. Okay, this is to have other business placed on the agenda to address Nuthka Parjo's concern on the placement of their vacant seat of their council representative. Secretary, call the roll.
Yes, okay.
Yes. Leetta Sampson. Anthony Conley.
Yes.
John Narkemy.
Yes.
Rena Tiger.
Yes.
Anastasia Pittman. Terry Edwards.
Yes.
Ida Gonzalez.
No,
Nancy Fixico. Tamara Downey.
No.
Leon Pete.
No.
Joseph Billy.
Yes.
Karen Fulbright. Karen Fulbright.
Okay, could you clarify again what we're voting on?
This is to add other business at the end of the agenda to address Northcup Harjo's vacant seat on tribal council.
No.
Ann Borba,
No.
Stephanie Lambert,
Yes.
Zena Yetlis,
Yes.
Lottie Cootie, Ella Coleman,
No.
Tiffany Thomas,
Yes.
Wayne Shaw,
Yes.
Catherine McCoy,
Yes.
Charlie Hill,
Yes.
Tiffany Cully,
Yes.
Danita Harjo,
Yes.
Willis Dethridge,
Yes.
Desiree Emerton.
Yes.
17 yes, 7 no.
With a count of 17 yes and 7 no, no abstentions, we have added other business to the end of the agenda. So we'll continue on. There is no unfinished business at this time. Reports, Representative Edwards. Okay, that's noted, Representative Edwards. Representative Dethridge.
Yes, sir, I'd like to have somebody from Light Horse, please.
Is Light Horse here today? They're not a committee, but with all those committees, that's on committee reports. Is Light Horse here? Go ahead, come on up, Chris. You can use the mic over here to the right, my right.
Chief Coker, I had spoken with you earlier this past couple of weeks about funding for the Light Horse. You had a concern that you had spent most of your money that was allocated through a tribal resolution. And I asked you a couple of questions, those questions being, how many contracts do you currently have for prisoners that are in incarceration? And who are they with, and what is the cost of each contract? So could you expound on the cost or how many you have?
Yeah,
Contracts?
yes, we have 3 contracts. One with Seminole County, the second contract's with Okfuskee County. The third is a new contract with Potawatomi County. I'll get my numbers here.
You were allocated $400,000. What is the amount that you've spent thus far?
Okay. From year to date, we've spent around $432,000. Primarily, Seminole County Jail was most of that at $304,000. Okfuskee was $35,000. And Potawatomi County Jail, we just started using them 2 days ago. So that's where we're at.
Okay, so you've already expended all of your allocation, sounds like.
Yes.
Okay, when do you expect this new allocation to begin? Is that today, October the 1st, or January? When?
Probably October 1st, I believe. And I know the Bureau is finally coming down with McGirt money, and 1.2 million, something around there at some point. And that should help. It, some of it go to us, some of it go to tribal court.
Okay, the reason I'm asking these questions is, I don't know whether we underestimated the cost that the McGirt decision was going to be on incarceration of our tribal members in the different facilities, but it sounds as if maybe we underestimated that. And I know that your concern is, hey, we need more money. It's basically what you've suggested. And so I'm looking for suggestions from the administration, from any council representative that can point us in the right direction as a nation to help fund, this situation for the Light Horse Police Department. So I'm
I believe there are some measures by the tribal court that they're trying to implement that reduces the days that maybe an incarcerate is in those detention centers. So that's one possible, at least that will cut the number of days that we're being charged for in all these detention centers. The other thing would be, obviously, to get us to the end of the year with the council passing the stabilization of the tribal government. It is a contract. The possibility is there, at least to make us until October 1. So those would be our immediate reaction to that. Obviously, more funds from the federal government for the purpose of law enforcement would be key, as Chief of Police Coker has said. There is $62 million that's going to be divvied up between the 5 tribes in the Quapaws. That's going to be divvied up pretty soon, probably right after the fiscal year. Now, that percentage, as we went to the negotiations, it's totally on the Bureau of Indian Affairs. So they're taking the formula for that to be your area of operations and your population. And with those types of things there, the smaller tribes will always lose out on the amount of funds that are divvied up or distributed under that type of a formula. So, but we do expect to receive, maybe over $1 million, somewhere in that. That was the last word that we heard, $1 million to $1.2 million of that funds. Obviously, we're not as large of tribes as the other 4 tribes.
Okay, question for the chief of the Light Horse. Are there grants available that you as a Light Horse chief of police can apply for, other than relying on the nation, the BIA, other areas?
Yeah, there's some funding grants for patrol officers, equipment grants such as that, but for incarceration fees, no, none that I know of at this time for the incarceration fees.
But if you applied for other things, then you could, and if you got that grant, couldn't you use that money that you've saved from, armored vest or whatever? Could you put that in the incarceration line item?
Use it on these grants. They're very detailed, and you can only spend it on the items that you written the grant for. So if you write the grant for a bulletproof vest or ammo, stuff like that, it has to be spent on those items.
Okay. Well, I think this holds true for you as well as any department within the Seminole Nation, and that is that if there's areas that we haven't applied for and we haven't looked at, please do so in the future. And again, I'm speaking to you as well as to any department head, any director, is that don't just depend on a handout. Try to help the nation with any grants that are available for your department. So that's where I'm at on this deal.
Representative Detheridge, if there are grants available, you can assure that the executive office, through our program development, is looking towards all those grants, and we have a standing resolution both for 2022 and 2023. If there's not a match required, that we can go after those grants. And there has been 20 million plus of grants that's come in since we came into office, that's coming towards the Seminole Nation, and there will be more. And if there's funds that's available there, we're negotiating on a regular basis. I'm talking about the tribes that are affected by McGirt with the non-disestablishment of reservations. We are going after more funds. We feel like that the federal government needs to be able to provide for their trust responsibility to the 5 tribes, and of course the Quapaws as well. So we're going to do everything that we can to go after funding when it becomes available.
Miko, in that area, what I'm suggesting to all of the department heads, all of the directors, is this, is not depend on you or program development. If I were a director and I seen something, I would want to make certain that I have informed you or the program development person who is no longer here, that, hey, there's a grant available, because you can't see every grant. I mean, that's just it. So if we help you, if we help the program development people, and just if we
Yeah.
see something,
And-
so
and
that's
then-
what I'm saying.
Well, there's another component to this. We do have specialized grant writers that are contracted with the Seminole Nation. So we have more eyes looking out there than just my eyes, Chief Palmer's eyes, and the program developer who will be filled on the 6th of September. That position will be filled. Okay,
Okay,
Is that
thank you. And but one more point there is that the lack of communication is almost tremendous. Getting back to the general counsel from the administrative office, and so I don't know whether we're aware of all of the things that y'all have done. I'm sure that we're going to get a report sooner or later, but we would like to be more informed as a council on what is happening, who's been displaced, who's been let go, who has been come in new, this and that. So please,
I think
communication is the most important thing, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's in business, it is vital. So if we don't have communication back and forth, that's where I'm at. We need more
You're
communication.
talking about personnel, and personnel's under executive, but that's fine. We'll communicate a little better with that. There's also a pie chart on the amount of employees that came into the nation since this administration came in a year ago. So it's in the annual report online, and perhaps I'll read it and expound on it here when time comes for that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Tiffany, Representative Thomas?
Okay, here's my question. So we met on this contract with Potawatomis. We passed that resolution, I believe it was June 28th. My question is, why is it just now going into effect as of 2 days ago, which is September 1st? Can you elaborate on that, please?
Yes, we've had issues getting the contract signed. That's pretty much it with Potawatomi County. So everything's good to go, and we're using them.
So in other words, there was just lack of communication from Potawatomis?
It was on both ends, not just them, us as well.
Okay, like I said, and just like Representative Dethridge said, communication is key, but thank you for clarifying.
Okay, I think I've seen Representative Coleman and then Representative Gonzalez. Representative Coleman?
Thank you, Chair. Chief Coker, I was just wondering, do you have any carryover funds that the BIA may allow it to be expended for this shortfall that you have right now?
Well, we pretty much have went through the carryover that we've accrued over the years. So, yeah, that's just growing pains here with McGirt. And,
Okay. All right, thank you.
Representative Gonzalez?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chief Coker, the FOLA ban had brought up questions regarding our ability to have a detention center on our own. And could you just explain if this is in the making, in the future, or is that not possible?
within our tribe, the nation, well, it's a lot of money. We could apply and the Bureau would possibly give us a one-time funding source. Then after that, we're on our own. You're going to have medical, food. You're going to have, employees. Where's that money going to come from? At the end of the day, I just speak to the Creek Nation. The Creek Nation, they're in the beginning stages of possibly a jail in the Dustin area. So that's kind of what we're looking towards. A jail it's a hard task to operate and a lot of money. So
it's just funding issue.
funding, lots of funding, yeah. To maintain that, I mean, they can give a one-time fee to help you get a jail started. Then they back out. Then you're like, okay, now it's on us. So.
All right, thank you.
Okay. That looks like it. Chief Coker? That looks like it. Thank you. Okay, any committees that somebody wants to address? I saw Representative McCoy's hand and then Representative Cootie. Representative McCoy, you're at.
Chair, would you just clarify, I remember at the last quarterly meeting, I had requested some departments and you said they were not on here because this is reports of committees. Can you again elaborate why you allowed Lighthorse to come forward as a department and they're not a committee?
Well, the reports of the committees is on the quarterly meetings as shown here. Obviously, Chief Coker was here, Chief of Police Coker was here, and Mr. Dedler's most likely seen that he was here, so he called upon him to come up. Is there somebody here that is a director that you would like to hear from? Although it's not really on the agenda, the reports of the committees is the agenda line item right now.
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Representative Cootie?
Is there anyone from the Older American Program?
Is there a represent, that particular committee on the Older American Program needs to be filled. I believe there's several vacancies on that as far as the group that used to gather for that particular program. So I wouldn't believe that there would be a committee member here today. Any other committees? Representative Petit?
Chief, I'm sorry, I didn't really hear what you said. You're mumbling again.
That's a specific committee that has several vacancies. And of course, during COVID, we've been having, non-congregate meals being served. So that's the committee that's actually not as active right now. But there's nobody here that would be from that committee.
Thank you.
Representative Petit?
Being new to this council, I'm not sure if it's the treasurer or the land acquisition board I'd need to speak to, but I would think since most payments come out of the treasurer's office, I just need to ask the treasurer a question.
The treasurer probably can answer the question on land acquisition. Is there anyone here that is the director of BCR? BCR, of course, SNGE and SINDOC are the people that are on that land acquisition committee by tribal law. But I would think that the treasurer would be able to answer any questions as well.
Okay. Well, most likely it would be related to the treasurer. I received from one of our band members this morning a notice in the Seminole Producer that there was approximately $20,000 in delinquent taxes that Seminole Nation was, I guess, obligated to pay that had not been paid. And he just asked, I asked a question regarding that and see why those haven't been taken care of.
Well, taxes are normally paid in the month of September. We did so last year when we came in, when we were $90,000 in default of taxes, which I have on my annual report. But Bill, do you want to answer that? Because Representative Vixico has a microphone right there. And can you turn that mic up, please?
Can you hear me?
Yes, speak right into
I'm
the
sorry,
mic.
but I'm having problems with my knees, so I'll just have to sit to answer your question now. Is it, now, what tax problem are you referring to?
Well, the text that he sent to me was there's $1,952
Oh, okay.
at the winery, $348 at the Grisso, and the other lands, $16,925. They're shown as delinquent today in Seminole Producer.
Okay, that has been paid, and that didn't come to our attention, I believe, until, I think, yesterday or day before yesterday. And that was, we didn't realize it, but on the statements, that was the mail or the tax notice had been going to an address on Wrangler Boulevard. And so that's why we had not received the notices until one individual or one director brought that to our attention. So that problem resolved, and the address has been changed, so from here on out, we'll be getting the notification. So that was the problem. It was being sent to the wrong address.
So these numbers have been satisfied?
Yes, it's around, I think, 19,000 roughly, I believe it was.
Thank you.
Representative Cootie?
Chief, I don't see the domestic violence. What is it? Does it come under one of these?
We're not going to be commenting on domestic violence. Oh, there's no committee here for domestic violence, but we won't be commenting on anything to do with domestic violence as far as if there's an issue there or if there has been some complaint or anything of that nature. They're not on the list as far as a committee is concerned. Representative Harjo?
I have questions for the Housing Authority Commission and the Princess Committee, if they're present.
Okay, I believe that there is someone from Housing Authority, Housing Authority of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma. We have a council representative that sits on that board as well as the executive director is here. And do we have a microphone there? Thank you. Make sure it's turned on for them.
I didn't know if Lisa was here or not.
Good morning. I just had a couple of questions from some band members that wanted me to ask. Is the Housing Authority, are they building a new addition at Varnum? Is there a new addition being built?
It isn't currently being built,
Uh-huh.
but it's what one of the grants that we're asking for a resolution for is for. We
Okay.
have 80 acres adjacent to the winery. We've been working on infrastructure for several years, and that's where we hope to build.
Okay, so whenever you get your grants to come through and everything, and you'll put it out there to let everyone know that the ground's going to be breaking and
Yes.
everything, and there'll be additional housing for tribal members.
Absolutely. We currently have a waiting list, but whenever we get that funding, then we'll, put that out there so more people can get on it.
Okay, thank you, Madam.
If you would, speak right into the mic.
Okay. Representative McCoy?
Just for clarification, these have to do with the resolutions, if you don't mind me asking them now. I thought I was under the impression that one of these grants is for a girls and boys club, and it was supposed to be in that 80 acres, but you're saying it's just going to be a housing addition?
Yes, it's just a housing addition. We currently don't have a location to build a Boys and Girls Club. If we're able to go after the funding, that's what it would be used for. And I visited with the administration and visiting with the city of Wewoka for property for Boys and Girls Club.
Okay, so with that being said, there are questions. I had members ask me questions, but you've explained the part about the Boys and Girls Club. But when you are going to look at that, if that eventually comes to fruition, are you trying to make it more centralized so a lot of our tribal members' kids can come to that facility? And will there be any kind of transportation to get those kids to attend?
I've answered this question for other bands as well, and whenever we got chartered in December, we had to identify a location, and so we identified where we were situated because myself and other staff are taking on additional duties to help with the Boys and Girls Club. So the initial location is Wewoka. I have reached out to Transit about vehicles that they surplus or that could be available to help provide transportation. But also, once we get established and really know what we're doing and are able to expand, we will definitely want to have satellite offices, possibly using our existing community facilities like in Sasakwa or out here or at Strother to be able to reach out to kids in those other areas.
Okay, and in regards to one of the grants, there is a match. If you were to obtain, I think it was like 2 million funding, the highest match would possibly be 400,000. And do you have that money in your budget to cover that? And if so, where is that coming from? What's the funding source of it?
We haven't identified that funding yet. That 25 matches what we would need to put forward for the most points. And so it doesn't actually require a match, but the more we can leverage, then the more points we can get. So we will be looking for that both in kind and through any housing funding that we have available. Our current IHBG funds, if we have any leftover or carryover funds, it can be used for that, as well as our program income.
All right, thank you.
Sure. Representative Shaw?
Well, we'll go back to that Boys and Girls Club. They were asking how my community, like Cornwall, way over in this corner, how are they gonna be able to take advantage of it in Wewoka? You kinda answered the question, but you haven't answered the question. I know that up in Miss Yeslet's area up there, she's Strother's area. That's a long travel, us parents or any parents to be traveling with the kids. They don't want their kids on the bus
Right.
30, 40 minutes at a time. So they were asking why just Wewoka? And, I don't know where your housing authority is in Wewoka. Is it in the Seminole Nation Reservation or is it over?
Yes, sir. Our housing administrative office is in Seminole Reservation, and we have a survey online. We've had it online for the last year, asking for input about what kind of services the tribal members want. It was on the tribe's Facebook for a while last year, but it's remained on our website. And it asks what kind of services our tribal members are interested in or want. It asks where they're interested in housing being built. And so everyone has the opportunity to respond to that. The survey's still open. Anybody who hasn't seen it or gone to it is welcome to. But one of the reasons that Wewoka was chosen is just because it's the capital of the Seminole Nation. It's, like I mentioned, it's where our office is and where our staff is located. And it's just the beginning. You know, right now, we just have services for middle school and high school students, and we're getting lots of calls because there's a need for younger students, and that's our goal to get to that. But to get our doors open and to begin service, we started in Wewoka with 12 to 18-year-old age students, and then with all the input, because everyone's interested. That's why we're doing it for youth. It was the third highest interest on our survey is services for youth. And so with that, and with the calls I've had this week with questions, I know that the tribe is interested in helping our youth progress. And so we could be calling on any number of you to help identify locations when we're to that point. We're developing and we're learning as we go, and so it's our goal to be throughout the reservation.
Well, the reason I'm asking these questions, I'm getting bombarded. I gotta cover me and her, because as band representatives and as a director, you're probably getting bombarded too. Where's the money coming from? You answered that in part, you answered that at the band chiefs meeting the other night. So I was able to kind of get a little bit of the heat off me, but they're still asking, well, why? That's the reason I brought this up.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, so most of these questions were answered at band chief's meeting, and those that asked the questions this morning were at band chief's meeting. But for the gallery, underneath this carpet is to protect a brand-new floor that has been done over the last few months. So there's a brand-new gym floor, and that's why there's carpet here. We have new goals as well, and I believe this gym can be made available for any satellite-type operations that could be done with the Boys and Girls Club as well. And there's plans to knock that wall out there as Head Start's wing expansion is done, and this will become nutrition and also more meeting area, as well as things that do with health and well-being of the Seminole Nation. There will be a locker rooms reestablished in that section. There will be showers so that when they do have tournaments, folks don't have to, when they're running concession stand here, or even if there's something, a movie night for young people here, lock-ins when COVID, totally lifts up more, that means they can use the bathrooms on that end instead of coming on this end. So there are plans for expansion here in this particular facility as well. So I believe that the Housing Authority will continue to try to do what's inclusive of all Seminole tribal members and other Native people that's within our service area. Representative Shaw.
One more time, we had those stairs or that walkway over there. Some of us, Nancy B sitting up there in a wheelchair, she could have been down here. I have a heck of a time getting up and down them stairs. There's a lot of old folks that have that hard time. Are you gonna reinstall some kind of ramps for us old folks and some young ones?
Well, that's not a question for you,
No, that's for you.
Mr. Stone, that's for me.
Okay.
There are plans to put a lift in here. We're not planning on putting the ramp back in, but we are hoping to have a lift placed in here that can be that. That's always been an issue with this particular facility. It's getting people down to the floor, especially people that have difficulties. So we definitely are looking at measures to be able to correct that, to make it easier for anyone that needs to get down to the floor to get to the floor. So yes, that's in the making. So we will have something.
Yes, ma'am.
It's just more a comment. I think it's going off of what you've heard from a couple of council reps. Any additional information you could provide with these resolutions, even if it's just a little paper that explains like about the match or the grant or the Varnum district, what it was going to be, that's just additional helpful information to distribute to our band members, because sometimes that affects the outcome of the voting when they don't have all the factors involved. So not just for you, but anyone who's bringing resolutions, it's just very helpful to our band members.
Certainly.
Is that all questions for housing?
Let me just name it.
You have something to say?
I'd just like to say that on Becky's behalf and in the Housing Authority, as commissioners and as a board and staff, we always look at not just serving our tenants, but our nation as a whole. And so this is something we have discussed the past, 2 or 3 years about starting this. And Becky's always applying for grants and monies to not just service our tenants, but others. And so there's no intentions of leaving anybody out. Like she said, this is in the beginning stages. And matter of fact, I do believe we are the only tribe that has a Boys and Girls Club. So we're the first ever. So that's why it's starting, and we are looking at how we can expand within the nation.
Okay, thank you. Any other committees at this time? I see Representative Hill. You're acknowledged.
I really don't need the mic, okay? I'm pretty good about talking pretty loud. My question is this, okay? It has nothing to do with these committees that are here today. Many years ago, okay, during your time when you were a council representative, okay, there used to be a time with our previous chiefs and all that there used to be directors here. We used to directly ask the director of that department of questions that we're pursuing that the people outside, our people, wanted to know. Today, all we see is committee reports and all that. Half of the committees, you can't even get them here. Half of the time, you call the committees, they never answer. Just like this young lady on my right, she asked for, I believe, domestic violence or something, that was scratched off, okay? There's no way we keep scratching things off, we're not going to hear the truth coming from the department heads, referring to directors. You've got what you call light horsemen over here on my right, which is to your left. There used to be a time we used to have sergeant of arms. They don't exist anymore, okay? And not only that, how many times have we had councils, meetings here that light horse wasn't here? What happened to them? They demolished. Today, when you look around, you hear all these crimes occurring in police department, in cities and towns. We have no one here to protect this 28 council reps and our visitors here, okay? So I would like to see other directors come, but how do we get the directors come? Do we go through the executive staff, or do we call them directly to be here? We're talking about Terrell, JOM. We got higher education, job replacement, commodities. They're not even here for us to ask them the questions that they work there 8 hours a day. Half the time we call complex. No one answers. I don't know if it's a payday every day, they're gone. But we need someone to be here when we ask for light horse. Luckily, they dropped in today. I don't know what it was, but maybe it was Willis's doing. Called him up, said, be here today. Don't know. But I'm glad they're here. But we need other directors to be here so they can answer our question for our people. Me, myself, I don't care if they're here or not. Thank you.
I'll make a clarification for that. And the clarification is that in the last administration, all standing call meetings were wiped off. That was in the month of April, month of July, and I believe the month of October. So those standing call meetings left us a lot of room to be able to address the issues as far as the directors are concerned. And that wasn't the only reason for standing call meetings, but that gave the agenda process more time to address those issues. Now, we can bring those back if that's what the council wants, or we can do it on the quarterly meeting as well, which right now it's committees by constitution and by tribal code that is actually on the agenda for the quarterly meetings. So that's why we have committees here. They have to be here by law, as far as on the agenda, reports of committees. So I think anyone has sat on this council for any time at all knows when those special call meetings were taken away. There was a lot of changes over the last 4 years of the last administration. So that's for clarification. That's how that happened. And any other committees? I see Representative McCoy, then I see Representative Shaw.
SNGE, gaming?
SNGE? SNGE?
No committee.
I don't know.
I don't see SNGE here.
Okay.
One thing that, as chairman of the council, and it would be totally up to the people of the Seminole Nation, the membership of the Seminole Nation, I would think if we ever have a referendum, to amend the Constitution, that possibly the quarterly meeting for September could be moved to the second weekend instead of the first weekend. And one of that reasons is there's a lot of folk that not here because when there are committees, they should be here. There's no doubt about that because this is the quarterly meeting. But maybe that's something, revision committee can consider at one point if we amend the Constitution in the future. Representative Shaw?
I'm glad you brought that up about the revision committee. It's been reinstated for several years now. There's been no move. And I know I brought it up at the beginning, our band brought it up at the beginning of your term this time, and still nothing's being moved. And it's going to be up to the administration, you're the chairman, to call the first meeting of the revision committee so they can elect their officers. That hasn't been done. How long are we going to have to wait to get a revision committee so we can have these referendum votes that you're talking about now?
I'll have to take a look and see how full that revision committee placement by the bands is. I'm not sure if it's totally full, but if not, I can call as chairman that meeting, and then the officers can be selected at that first meeting.
As long as we got a quorum there, that's all it takes. These bands have been asked, they've been begged, letters have been sent to them. It's been said on this council for you to turn in your representatives to the revision committee, and if you haven't, that's your fault. That's not the fault of this council. It's not the fault of the people. It's whoever your band chairman and your representatives are. It's your fault. So if you're gonna look out for your people, get your representatives' names on that list so we can get this revision together and get it going. We stall ourselves. So I wanna.
If there are some bands that haven't selected and placed before the council your nominations for your representatives or delegates for the revision committee, make sure you get them turned in, and perhaps next month in October, we'll call a revision committee meeting together, and then they can select their officers and go forth from there. I know one thing that I'm going to speak about to the revision committee. We have paid several attorney generals over the course of since the 1990s on some of the same questions that has been already worded and placed on ballots. And then we go revisit that and hash it over with the attorneys, and then we pay the attorneys again. Well, those particular areas that's already set, leave them alone. Leave them in the word that they are already in. There's no need to go over that again and get money charged against the nation for the same purpose. Representative Cootie.
Chief, at one time, there was a list, because there are some of us that was appointed. So there was a list that was updated, all the people that are on the committees.
Yes,
There was a list. So it should be somewhere in your office, I guess.
it's in Council Secretary's office, but we will call that meeting and sometimes in October, let them select the officers, and then they can go forth from there. Representative Deathridge.
Chair, recently, the council passed a resolution in regards to the Business and Corporate Regulatory Commission asking our AG and the commission to look into some taxation issues. Hate to call these ladies up without prior notice, but I do see that we have Sharon Scott and we have our Attorney General, and I would like for them to give a quick chewing some candy right now. Ask them, to give us a quick update as to where we're at right now.
Are there any other committee members besides Representative Deathridge here from BCR? There is. Representative Fulbright, go ahead and come up. Also, Ms. Scott. I know, and the committee member, Mr. Representative Deathridge, you're on that committee as well. Representative Lambert, you want to come up? They all join together, get your question answered.
No, I'm not going to go up there. I just asked for these two ladies.
Yeah, but this is committee time. You're calling up employees.
We also have Willis and Susie Hardrow.
Get up there with it.
I've got a bad leg. I'll listen from here.
We've met twice to discuss taxation issues. I was going to put it in the fourth quarter report because the first time that we met was in July. So that wasn't included on your report for this meeting because we're reporting on the third quarter. But we have met twice and discussed things and had a plan of action.
Keep it up to your mouth.
And that is part of the Attorney General's report that I've printed out, so we didn't have to take up extra time if anybody wants to review, but it's just like was stated, we've met twice, and we have a plan for moving forward with representing individual tribal members against the Oklahoma Tax Commission and their individual income tax, challenges or refund requests, and we've also discussed sales tax. So I can pass these out later, or you can come get one if you'd like. Anything else?
Go ahead and call on them as you see them.
Representative Shaw.
Okay, you said that it's available to us. Well, I, for one, cannot get, what do you call it? I got satellites, I got 4 or 5 satellites around my house, and I still cannot get on the computer. So I'm in one of those dead spots. So I'd appreciate it if you, I think everybody in here ought to get a copy of that report. And
I'll pass it out,
you've got it
sir.
in your hand, but I don't have one.
This is my first annual meeting since I was elected, and I wasn't quite sure how to give my report, sir. I'm sorry.
Okay, now, we're talking about that. What's this McGirt case doing to us as a nation on this new reservation? The taxes, we shouldn't have to pay taxes as Native Americans, whether we own the land in fee or restricted in the land. That's not happening. Also, the state of Oklahoma is still taxing everybody's paycheck that earn money right here. So they shouldn't receive any taxes off the state of Oklahoma. I, for one, am not afraid of Mr. Stitt. I don't have no respect. I can't call him governor. I respect the governor's slot too much. But I don't call him Stitt. So, you know, we need to quit being afraid. Stand up. We've done it many a time. I don't know why we're not doing it now. Because that really affects a lot and lots. How many Seminole employees that we have that are earning money working here or in Seminole County? That's a lot of money that the state's taking free gratis that we've had to pay in for 113 years. 114 years we've been paying all that money to them. Why are we not like white men say, how come we don't have our dandruff up?
The short answer to your question is the Muskogee Creek Nation was the first tribe, and they have a similar resolution to file suit against the state of Oklahoma. Their first case they took through, it's Alicia Strobel, it's her case. The administrative law judge of the Oklahoma Tax Commission ruled in favor of Ms. Strobel that her income should be exempt from Oklahoma state tax. The Oklahoma Tax Commission appealed their own judge to the tax commissioners, which we all know are appointed by the governor. And so that hearing was last month. The decision of that hearing has not been released yet. As soon as that decision is released, it will most likely be appealed. But as part of our last meeting with the BCR, our next plan is to find test cases to take through the Oklahoma Tax Commission process and fight our own claim. But this is an ongoing process, but we are looking for test cases to take through. I would caution you that you need to be aware that if you don't pay your taxes, they will assess penalties and interest. And if you have any kind of license, like a law license, for instance, they will try to take that away from you. And if you do pay your taxes and then do a claim for refund, you're going to be waiting for a while. So that's why we need test cases to take them through, because there is some risk to the individual taxpayers.
But the thing is, though, can't we, you said the Creek Nation has done it. I don't know, I'm not Creek, but the thing is, we as Seminoles, can we not assist them with an amicus brief or something? We need to be moving forward instead of just sitting here idle and letting somebody else do the work.
Well, we absolutely can, and in my opinion, we have a stronger case than the Muskogee Creek Nation because we also have Magnin. And that's some of what the Oklahoma Tax Commission is challenging, is cases on housing authority property that used to be held by the state or still is held by the state. We all know the history of how that came about, but that is what we're challenging. We have Magnin, they do not have Magnin. But of the 5 tribes, the only 2 that have authorized their tribes to go forward is obviously Seminole Nation and Muskogee Creek Nation. And I guess some of the waiting is it's more cost effective. No matter how many cases we file with Oklahoma Tax Commission, this one's going to come through first. So once we see them, basically show us their hand, know what they're going to do, then we know where to fight. So we're not fighting fights we don't need to fight and wasting tribal funds.
Okay. Thank you.
Representative Petit.
Yes, could you bring us up to date on the severance tax issue? Where do we stand on that?
It has not been, we haven't seen any severance tax cases come through the Oklahoma Tax Commission yet. I do believe, and we've discussed this at BCR, that we do have a strong case for severance tax also. You guys, the Seminole Nation is situated in a really good position to fight both this housing case and severance tax. But it's, again, there's limited funding, and we need to know what's most important to you. So we rely on the BCR to help us know. And like we said, we've had several meetings, and we are moving forward. We think sales tax is also something we can fight effectively, so we're working on that also. Who? Oh, Representative Cootie.
I heard a little bit about, they had a forum, I think it was in Tulsa. Can you hear?
I can't hear.
There was a forum in Tulsa, I believe. I think Governor Stitt's had a meeting, and they had a meeting on our sovereignty. I guess, to try and take the sovereignty from us or whatever. Do you know anything about that?
If you're talking about Castro Huerta or the Hooper cases, that's also in my memo. Those are fights about municipalities trying to, there's a quarrel over who has the right to impose their laws in municipalities. There's a quarrel over the state or cities trying to apply some law even before statehood in those instances, and some challenges to that. So that's also addressed in my memo, and I'll pass this out. But if you have other questions, yes, that forum probably happened. I do not know for sure, but yes, there are forums everywhere discussing state, county. You heard from the Light Horse about, the detention centers and that, but for the most part, I believe that municipalities are our friends and want to work with us. And I think that's evidenced probably more by Pottawatomie County than, the problems we've been having with Seminole County and the detention center. But we can all be good neighbors and work together and not give up our sovereignty.
Thank you.
Any other questions for BCR?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ladies. Any other committees to be called upon? If there's no other committees, council don't want to hear from anyone else, we'll go according to the agenda. Representative Shaw?
Under SINDOC, I know did y'all come up and leave already on that SINDOC?
Sindoc is here. I can see him in the gallery.
Well, I have one question that's been posed to me. We have an aquaponics greenhouse, I guess you'd call it, up here in the city of Seminole, right there where the old skating ring was. That was hit by that tornado. Was it not insured, and why isn't it back up and running? That's the question I've been asked. I can't tell nobody because,
Division of Commerce is here. They're represented here today.
well, would you please?
Gentlemen, somebody maybe take
somebody
that
get up here and
question.
Give me an answer. I'd be happy.
I know I know a portion of that answer, but really somebody from that entity needs to maybe speak on the matter.
I was told it should have been insured. If it wasn't, there's something wrong. We need to reprimand somebody. Ooh.
Okay, so the question was, what is the status of aquaponics?
Yes.
Okay, so, it was destroyed during the hurricane. We just recently got the insurance settlement, and we are waiting on a estimate to rebuild it. But our suggestion, and I think we've kind of talked to the chief about this in the past, is to relocate it out here to the Mission, because the water quality in Seminole is just not good for the plants.
Well, you don't want to bring it to Conway, I'll guarantee you. If I didn't have brown skin, I would have after this morning shower.
Is this considered Conway?
No, he said you don't want to bring it to Conway.
Yeah, we're not bringing it to Conway. We're talking about bringing it out here.
We haven't even got our own water. We're still buying water off of Bow Legs District. We shouldn't be doing that. They should be buying water off of us. All water rights. But why relocate it out here? Because if it's aquaponics, who's gonna, are you still gonna, is it still gonna be under your tutelage, or is it gonna be under somebody that we don't know at all?
I think that's to be determined.
To be determined, or
Yes.
it's already determined and you don't wanna tell it?
No, to be
Because
determined.
we always get our information at the last second, or it happened yesterday. Oh, we forgot to tell y'all.
No, we're not withholding,
Okay.
withholding any information.
Yeah, I think he answered the question. Any other questions for Sindoc while they're here? Okay. Thank you, sir. Any other committees? Representative Borba.
Yes, as the chairman of the Early Childhood Committee, I would like to introduce our new director, Meredith Guffey. Thank you. I am with the Early Childhood Committee, and I just wanted to introduce our new Head Start director to you. She has come aboard and really dug in, and she is working really hard for our children.
Good morning. My name is Meredith Guffey. I am Choctaw by heritage, so I'm not Seminole, but I have enjoyed thoroughly being with the Seminole children since June 20th of this year. I think we have an amazing Head Start program that has lots of room to grow. As you know, you've passed tribal resolutions with this General Counsel to give us that opportunity to expand and have better facilities for our children, and we want to do wonderful things. So thank you for allowing me this opportunity, and if anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. Okay, Mado.
Mado.
I've seen Representative Hill there.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Ms. Duffy has her degree in accounting and 3 masters in education, or education-oriented. And as far as reporting to the agencies and what we would consider a better relationship with the funding source, it's been a transition, and it's better now than it has been in the past. So we're grateful for that. Any other committees? Okay, no committees. We're going to go to new business, and we do have toward the end of the agenda interviews for General Counsel Secretary. Now, there is a candidate that came a pretty good distance today. Would the council consider going out of the order of the agenda to interview this individual? I know all the candidates came in yesterday. They came in yesterday, and personally, I didn't feel as the chairman of the council, it was fair to the council or the bands or to actually these candidates, because majority of them weren't going to be able to make it today, because when the recruiting went out on the career site, it didn't say that, you know, you would be called for the September quarterly meeting. So folks are doing their thing with their families. And I actually, I think some council were considering, you know, tabling this item, and I didn't want, you know, candidates to drive from wherever they may be coming from to appear before this council. But I do believe that we do have one that did drive here, and she's here. Do y'all want to go out of the order of the agenda, maybe just to hear, you know, that one person that's here today? Representative Shaw.
That's what I was fixing to do, is ask you to go out of order of business so we could discuss the secretary. I wasn't here the last time they discussed the secretaries, and I understand that we spent about 2 hours, spun our wheels and quit. So I don't know who all, I got this one resume, and I don't know who else is going for it, but I do want to go out of business, order of business, so we can at least discuss it. And if we're going to discuss personnel, we'll need to go into executive session at that time, so.
Well, if you're going to discuss the candidate, you could go to executive session if you desire, but just to hear the interview, you wouldn't have to hear the comments from her, questions given to her. And being that she's the only one here, I don't know that you want to, that's up to the council if they want to discuss it. But there probably needs to be another meeting for those other candidates that are also in the career portal as well. Is there any objections to go out in the order of the agenda to address, let's see, TR 2022-86? No objection? If there's no objection, then we're going to go out of order of the agenda, and since Ms. Hunter, I believe, is your name, she's here, and she did drive almost 60 miles to be here, so I appreciate the council at least entertaining, interviewing Ms. Hunter. If you would come forward now. And I think as council has requested, if there is going to be discussion, afterwards, you could go into executive session if that's the desire of the council. You can hold those discussions for another time as well. Doesn't have to be today. Representative Pettit.
Yes, Chair. Could we have either the Attorney General or someone from HR give some information to this council on what questions we cannot ask? And give us some kind of direction on that, because I think there was some questions that some people questioned whether or not we could actually ask those.
I think personal questions, questions of privacy and things of that nature, if you can refrain from going that direction, that would be a good measuring rod there.
Would you do us the favor of, if in the event that someone starts to ask a question that may be out of line, that you ask them to pause for a moment so that we can make sure that we do
Ring the buzzer?
Yes.
Okay.
And do that. Thank you.
Okay. I think it's going to be fine. I think everybody knows, what happened at the last meeting, and we don't want to repeat that. Okay, you can introduce yourself and tell the general counsel who you are and talk about yourself a little bit.
Hello, my name is Cheryl Hunter, and I applied for the position for the secretary of the council. I have 10 plus years experience in the administrative office. I worked for the Muskogee Creek Nation for the Light Horse Department. I worked as administrative assistant. I also was taking minutes in the Light Horse Commission meetings. And I also worked for the Child Support Department and Security. And if you have any questions that you'd like to ask, I'll be happy to answer. Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Hunter, what skills, administrative skills, do you bring to the table for the General Counsel Secretary? I know you said that you've worked for the Muskogee Creek Nation Light Horse. Have you had to take minutes?
Yes, ma'am, in the Light Horse Commission meetings, yes.
Okay, have you had to record it and then transcribe it afterwards, or did you record it shorthand, or how?
I liked recording because in case I wanted to go back and make sure, something was said, then I was able to do that. And then I typed it out and presented it to the quarterly meetings.
Okay, and how many years of experience do you have in the administrative assistance
10
profession?
plus years.
10 plus years?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay, all right, thank you. And thank you for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. Yes, sir?
Yes, on average, how many words do you type per minute?
I honestly don't know because I've never tested myself, but I can type very quickly.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. I haven't tested myself since college. Yes, ma'am.
Are you a tribal member?
No, I am Cherokee.
Thank you.
And I do have associate's degree in office technology.
Any other question? Representative Coleman?
Would you enlighten us on, when you say office technology, would you enlighten us on the types of equipment or software programs that you're familiar with, that you've worked with, please?
Yes, ma'am. I'm familiar with Word in the computers. Excel is one of my favorite programs. I run general office machines that everybody has in the office. And I had also knowledge of the DHS computers, their program that they were on when I was looking for absent parents at child support. There's different programs that's designated just for the program that you're working for, that they have, that you learn. And I can learn pretty fast.
Okay, and why did you apply for the position of General Counsel Secretary for the Seminole Nation? What motivated you to apply for this position?
I need a job.
Good motivation.
The honest to God truth.
Thank you.
Representative Yesliff, and then Representative Fulbright.
Yes, I have two questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have reliable transportation to get you to work? Because
Yeah.
I see you're from Willika. And do you have any obligations that would keep you from coming in the evenings on our special call or even Saturday meetings?
No, I don't have any restrictions on me. I'm a single person that lives in my home with 6 fur babies.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Fulbright?
That was basically my question.
Oh.
If there was any limitations for you coming, because Chief could call a meeting, and just when the council needs to meet, we need to meet. So I didn't know if that would work with you,
No, I don't have no restrictions.
nights and weekends.
Yeah.
Okay.
I see no other hands lifted to be acknowledged. Any other questions for Ms. Hunter? Okay, Ms. Hunter, we appreciate you being before the General Counsel
I
this morning.
appreciate the opportunity. Thank you all.
Okay. What is the desire of the council? Is it to go ahead and have another meeting for other candidates as well? Okay. Is there any objection to have another meeting for the other candidates that submitted but are not here? For they didn't really recognize that it would be the day they would be here, I don't believe. But anyway, we appreciate Ms. Hunter coming. And then as far as notification is concerned, that's what how the council wants to continue to proceed on this area of the council secretary, is to have another meeting with those other three candidates, or maybe more that will submit by that time. I would suggest that we cut a deadline off on the submission of applications, simply because all these applications came in yesterday, close to noon. I suppose we could have got them to you, but it's just not, it wouldn't be fair to your bands or for you to possibly make a decision, or to the candidates as well. So if that's the direction we're going, do we have, as an administration, an okay to have a cutoff date so that we can have everybody here? Is there any objection to the administration, HR department, to cut that off? And we'll make that decision when that cutoff is. That way, we'll have everybody here at a specific called meeting for this purpose. Representative Narcomi?
Yes, I would like to motion that we entertain discussions of this at the next available opportunity. And as far as the cutoff date, how about the end of October?
That's pretty far out.
Well, how about the end of September then?
If you can, that's up to the council, but that's why I ask, is it a consensus that you want us to set a cutoff date? He said a cutoff date for the
How about the end of September?
end of September for candidates, and then we come back in the new fiscal year and have a decision for a council secretary. Is that admissible for the council to do that? Because I'm totally at your desire and your.
I guess it depends on how quickly we'd like to discuss this issue. I mean, I know we'd like to get a secretary as quick as possible, but
Correct. I've seen Representative Cootie, then Representative Petit. Representative Cootie?
Chief, I think that we should have a meeting pretty quick to select a secretary, because when you call a special call meeting, we have to have somebody to take the minutes and everything.
Yes, I would think that would be the way to do it. Also, what about the cutoff date? You want us to go ahead and adjust the cutoff date, and then we can call a special meeting for all candidates that met that date. Is that how the council wants us to do that? Okay, we'll do that. Representative Petit?
Chair, I just suggest that maybe we have 2 weeks, to allow 2 weeks more to a cutoff date.
Okay,
And
at least.
Yeah, and then that way we can get the resumes and everything.
Yes.
To the council reps, so we can review them before we come to this special call meeting, if that is prior to our next meeting.
Sounds great. Okay. I don't believe a decision is going to be made today on that. So let's go ahead and go back to the new business, back to the original agenda. We're under new business at this time, and we have TR 2022-81 introduced by Representative Petit.
Chair, I'd like to submit a resolution of General Counsel to the General Counsel of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma, authorizing Seminole Nation Division of Commerce to establish Pusky Hyatt LLC and approving the operating agreement for Pusky Hyatt LLC. And I ask for a second.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second? Okay, motion was made by Representative Petit. It was seconded by Representative Lambert. That was the hand that I seen. So we're in discussion. Representative McCoy?
So is somebody here?
I see SINDOC
committee.
representative from their board and also their CEO and the attorney for SINDOC. They are all here.
If they could come forward, please.
Okay, if you gentlemen would come, and attorney as well. Swingarter.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. Wayne, can you hear me? Wayne, Can you hear me? Clear? Okay. So thank you for being here. So my question is from my band, obviously. I didn't receive a copy of this agreement. Is it still being prepared? They wanted to see an agreement and look at it, and I didn't have one in my packet.
It's been prepared. I thought it went out with the last meeting, because it's completed. It's been reviewed by the Attorney General, approved by her. So I can email you a copy.
Yes, if you don't mind providing me a copy. And another one of their questions was, what is the startup? Is there some startup funds? And if so, where would those funds come from?
We're asking the council to create an entity. There is no startup budget, and there is no startup funds required at this time. We will not need funding until we actually start to create businesses under Puxi corporate shield. So we won't know specifically what we're going to need until that time. Anything that we would use to kind of kick off operations will come out of our current budget.
And your current budget is pretty substantial for what you think you might need when that time comes?
No, but we'll work within the resources that we have.
Okay. Meadow?
Just, if there's a question, is that it? Any other questions? Okay, we have Representative Narkamy there. Representative Narkamy?
All right. I've seen the information provided. I've spoken to my band chief a little bit on this. Unfortunately, my band chief did not attend the previous band chief meeting due to an emergency on her behalf. So I am not privy to what was discussed at the last band chiefs meeting. So in a nutshell, tell us what the advantages of this are.
I'm sorry, Mr. Narkby, I didn't understand your question.
So in a nutshell, give us the advantages of this idea.
Well, there's two different aspects to it. One is legal, and I'll ask Whitney to address that. And then the other is the business portion of it. Title 8 allows Division of Commerce to create and enter into business agreements with other people that we need to bring capital to our economic development effort. There's one requirement. There has to be a general counsel approved enterprise to implement this portion of the code. We have to have a general counsel approved enterprise to create, in order to be able to create the sub-enterprises that we might need to bring capital to the table. And that's within the authorities already granted to the division within the context of Title 8, but we have no existing enterprise within which this activity can occur. The only general counsel authorized enterprise that we currently have is Simulation Services, and over time, that enterprise has been positioned to work almost exclusively within the context of federal contracts under the Section 8A program. And for us to take on other activities requires their approval. So there's things that we might want to get involved with, and we don't want to mess up what we've already positioned ourselves for under the 8A program. So we're asking the council to give us the authority and latitude to move other business activities as needed.
So that's the first thing, is growth. We really have to have this to be able to grow and develop more things, because right now we can't enter into any kind of thing under the law where CINDOC doesn't, or the nation doesn't have full ownership of the company. So should somebody come to CINDOC with an excellent opportunity to say, I even want a 1% ownership stake, we can't do that. So we need this to be able to grow. The second part of it is protection. So really this company, it's the nation, CINDOC, and then it would be this company. This company acts as an umbrella that protects CINDOC and the nation and protects their sovereign immunity. So this company can never waive by law, the sovereign immunity of the nation. And it cannot waive the sovereign immunity of SINDOC. And it adds a layer of protection that if somebody tried to sue this company, they couldn't get through. We would then build down from that, and each layer adds another layer of protection. So this is a good starting point that future developments will protect those other entities. And you're saying, well, what does SINDOC really have to lose? But we have those stores. We do have assets that you wouldn't want to lose. So this extra layer of protection is valuable for growth and for protection of the sovereign immunity of the nation, SINDOC, and any other entities we create.
My understanding of that was that in our current state, one of the nation's biggest concerns is that if something goes wrong with one of our companies, then the nation is at risk, naturally. With this resolution or this change, it, as you said, it provides an extra layer of protection for the nation. So it's more difficult for someone to directly sue us.
That's correct.
Thank you.
You said this wouldn't affect our sovereign immunity. We heard that before, and we ended up having to sign a note that said limited sovereign immunity.
So there's a possibility that as we grow, this company may waive its sovereign immunity, but by law, it cannot waive the sovereign immunity of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma. Any action to do so is void. The operating agreement says that it also cannot waive the sovereign immunity of SINDOC. Such actions would be void. Now, this company may decide something, they want to enter into a contract and the other party wouldn't agree to that contract without a limited waiver, but that would only be the limited waiver as to that company, not to SINDOC, not to the nation.
I wish I'd have seen this business plan. I haven't seen it. All I've heard is gossip and talk about it.
There's been a lot of gossip going around. We don't have a business plan developed yet because this really is going to be not a business where a lot of businesses run through. This is our protection level. So this is to establish that level of protection, and then new businesses will be built under this company.
I guess, I haven't read your little resolution or your plan yet, so until I read that, I reserve my comment.
Representative Coleman?
I just want to make a comment. For years that some in the General Counsel has been concerned that the Seminole Nation Division of Commerce has not been able to provide as well or as much as we thought towards the tribal economy as BCR and SNGE. And I see this as an opportunity that this board has come up with to be able to establish companies with the public, where we can do business with the public and be able to be in a profit-making situation and contribute more money to the tribal economy so that we can provide more and better services to our tribal communities and our tribal members. I thank you all for coming up with Boxy Haida. I believe that you should be given this opportunity to do so. Whatever.
Any other questions? Representative McCoy?
Sorry. Can you hear me? If there's no other discussion, my band had asked me to make a motion to table, and I asked for a second.
Okay, there's already a motion to table on the floor. There's no discussion on the table. Was there a second? I didn't. Okay, Representative Cootie? Okay, there's a motion to table on TR 2022-81, the resolution that was just presented by SINDOC. Does everyone understand what they're voting for? This is a motion to table this item. Secretary, call the roll.
Leetta Sampson,
No.
Anthony Conley.
No.
John Narcomy,
Yes.
Rena Tiger,
Yes.
Anastasia Pittman, Terry Edwards,
No.
Ida Gonzalez,
No.
Nancy Fixico, Tamara Downey,
No.
Leon Pete,
No.
Joseph Billy,
No.
Karen Fulbright,
No.
Ann Barbara,
No.
Stephanie Lambert,
No.
Sina Yetta,
No.
Lottie Cootie,
She said yes.
okay. Ella Coben,
No.
Tiffany Thomas,
Yes.
Wayne Shaw,
Yes.
Catherine McCoy,
Yes.
Charlie Hill,
Yes.
Tiffany Colley,
No.
Danita Harjo,
No.
Willis Dethridge,
No.
Desiree Emerton,
No.
7 yes, 17 no, and no abstentions.
The count is 7 yes, 17 no, 0 abstentions. The motion to table TR 2022-81 has failed. We're back to the original question. There is a motion and second on the floor. Secretary, call the roll. This is,
Leetta Sampson,
Yes.
Anthony Conley,
Yes.
John Narcomy,
Yes.
Rena Tiger,
Yes.
Terry Edwards,
Yes.
Ida Gonzalez,
Yes.
Nancy Fixico, Tamara Downey,
Yes.
Leon Pete,
Yes.
Joseph Billy,
Yes.
Karen Fulbright,
Yes.
Ann Borba,
Yes.
Stephanie Lambert,
Yes.
Sina Yetler,
Yes.
Lottie Cootie, Lottie Cootie, Ella Coben,
Yes.
Tiffany Thomas,
No.
Wayne Shaw,
No.
Catherine McCoy,
No.
Charlie Hill,
No.
Tiffany Cully,
Yes.
Danita Harjo,
Yes.
Willis Dethridge,
Yes.
Desiree Emerton.
Yes.
19 yes, 5 no.
with a count of 19 yes and 5 no, 0 abstentions, I declare TR 2022-81 to have passed. TR 2022-82, Representative Yeslith.
I have Tribal Resolution TR 2022-82, a tribal resolution of the General Council of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma authorizing the Housing Authority of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma to prepare and submit the Indian Community Development Block Grant Program competitive grant on behalf of the Seminole Nation. I make that motion and ask for a second.
Motion be made, second by Representative Petit. Representative McCoy,
If there's no discussion, my band asked me to table this. I make a motion to table and ask for a second.
Okay, there's a motion to table. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion to table by Representative McCoy. It's seconded by Representative Hill. Now, this is a motion to table TR 2022-82. -82. Motion to table. Secretary, call the roll.
Leetta Sampson. Anthony Conley.
No.
John Narkemy.
No.
Rena Tiger.
No.
Terry Edwards.
No.
Ida Gonzalez.
No.
Nancy Fixico. Tamara Downey.
No.
Leon Pete.
No.
Joseph Billy.
No.
Karen Fulbright.
No.
Ann Borba.
No.
Stephanie Lambert.
No.
Sina Yetlis.
No.
Lottie Cootie. Ella Coleman.
No.
Tiffany Thomas.
No.
Wayne Shaw.
No.
Catherine McCoy.
Yes.
Charlie Hill.
Yes.
Tiffany Cully.
No.
Danita Harjo.
No.
Willis Dethridge.
No.
Desiree Emerton.
No.
Two yes, 21 no. 0 abstain.
With a count of 2 yes, 21 no, that table has failed. We're back to the original question. This is TR 2022-82. Back to the original question. Secretary, call the roll.
Leetta Sampson.
Yes.
Anthony Conley.
Yes.
John Narkemy.
Yes.
Rena Tiger.
Yes.
Terry Edwards.
Yes.
Ida Gonzalez.
Yes.
Nancy Fixico. Tamara Downey.
Yes.
Leon Pete.
Yes.
Joseph Billy.
Yes.
Karen Fulbright.
Yes.
Ann Borba.
Yes.
Stephanie Lambert.
Yes.
Sina Yetlis.
Yes.
Lottie Cootie.
Yes.
Ella Coleman.
Yes.
Tiffany Thomas.
Yes.
Wayne Shaw.
Yes.
Catherine McCoy.
Yes.
Charlie Hill.
Yes.
Tiffany Cully.
Yes.
Danita Harjo.
Yes.
Willis Dethridge.
Yes.
Desiree Emerton.
Yes.
24 yes, 0 no, 0 abstain.
With a count of 24 yes, 0 no, and 0 abstentions, I declare TR 2022-82 to have passed. TR 2022-83, Representative Yeslith.
I have TR 2022-83, a tribal resolution of the General Council of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma, authorizing the Housing Authority of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma to prepare and submit the Indian Housing Block Grant Program competitive grant on behalf of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma. I make that motion and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion by Representative Yeslith. It was seconded by Representative Shaw. Any discussion? Representative McCoy.
My band asked me to make a motion to table. I make a motion and ask for a second.
There's a motion to table. Is there a second?
Second again.
Second by Representative Hill. This is to table TR 2022-82. This is to table this measure. I'm sorry, TR 2022-83. Chair stands corrected. TR 2022-83. This is a motion to table. Secretary?
Leetta Sampson,
No.
Anthony Conley,
No.
John Narkemy,
No.
Rena Tiger,
No.
Terry Edwards,
No.
Ida Gonzalez,
No.
Nancy Pixico, Tamara Downey,
No.
Leon Pete,
No.
Joseph Billy,
No.
Karen Fulbright,
No.
Ann Borba,
No.
Stephanie Lambert,
No.
Sina Yetlis,
No.
Lottie Cootie, Ella Coleman,
No.
Tiffany Thomas,
No.
Wayne Shaw,
No.
Catherine McCoy,
Yes.
Charlie Hill,
Yes.
Tiffany Cully,
No.
Janita Harjo,
No.
Willis Dethridge,
Just, yes. Just for approval, or just the table?
Table,
Table?
Table.
No.
Desiree Emerson,
No.
$22 yes, two no, 22 yes. Excuse me.
Okay, with a count
Two
of...
yes and 22 no, and no
Yes.
abstain.
With a count of 2 yes, 22 no, and 0 abstentions, that table has failed. We are back to the original question of TR 2022-83. Secretary, call the roll.
Leetta Sampson,
Yes.
Anthony Conley,
Yes.
John Narkemy,
Yes.
Rena Tiger,
Yes.
Terry Edwards,
Yes.
Ida Gonzalez,
Yes.
Nancy Pixico, Tamara Downey,
Yes.
Leon Pete,
Yes.
Joseph Billy,
Yes.
Karen Fulbright,
Yes.
Ann Borba,
Yes.
Stephanie Lambert,
Yes.
Sina Yetlis,
Yes.
Lottie Cootie,
Yes.
Ella Coleman,
Yes.
Tiffany Thomas,
Yes.
Wayne Shaw,
Yes.
Catherine McCoy,
Yes.
Charlie Hill,
Yes.
Tiffany Cully,
Yes.
Danita Harjo,
Yes.
Willis Dethridge,
Yes.
Desiree Emerson.
Yes.
24 yes, 0 no, 0 abstain.
With a count of 24 yes and 0 no and 0 abstentions, I declare TR 2022-83 to have passed. TR 2022-84, with the absence of Representative Watkins, Representative Coleman, do you desire to introduce this?
Yes. A tribal resolution of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma authorizing signatures for the Indian Self-Determination and Education Assistance Act contract for the CDIB program, and I ask for a second.
There's a motion. There's a second by Representative Petit. I seen his hand first. So there's a motion by Representative Coleman, second by Representative Petit. I see no hands raised. Secretary, call the roll. This is TR 2022-84.
Leetta Sampson,
No.
Anthony Conley,
No.
John Narkemy,
Yes.
Rena Tiger,
Yes.
Terry Edwards,
No.
Ida Gonzalez,
Yes.
Nancy Fixico, Tamara Downing,
Yes.
Leon Pete,
Yes.
Joseph Billy,
Yes.
Karen Fulbright,
Yes.
Ann Borba,
Yes.
Stephanie Lambert,
Yes.
Sina Yethlis,
Yes.
Lottie Cootie,
Yes.
Ella Coleman,
Yes.
Tiffany Thomas,
Yes.
Wayne Shaw,
Yes.
Catherine McCoy,
Yes.
Charlie Hill,
Yes.
Tiffany Cully,
Yes.
Danita Harjo,
Yes.
Willis Dethridge,
Yes.
Desiree Emerton.
Yes.
Twenty-two yes and 3 no.
With a count of 22 yes and 3 no, 0 abstentions, I declare TR 2022-84 to have passed.
Chair, could you,
Let
do
me
that
see.
count again?
Uh,
I don't know if that's correct or not.
Secretary, can you repeat that count again on that TR 2022-84?
21 yes.
Okay. Okay, 21 yes, 3 no, 0 abstentions. I declare TR 2022-84 to have passed. TR 2022-85, as you can see, the sponsor or the introduction of this particular resolution has been changed on the portal. If you've got a hard copy, it's probably not changed. So Representative Dethridge name isn't on this, so this is introduced by the Office of the Chief. A resolution of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma General Counsel authorizing the Executive Office by and through the Program Development Department to prepare and submit a grant application to apply for funding of the Special Diabetes Program for Indians, HHS 2022 IHS Special Diabetes Program for Indians 001 for fiscal year 2023. I entertain a motion. I see Representative Coleman makes that motion. Do we have a second? We have a second by Representative Petit, TR 2022-86 or 85. No questions? Secretary, call the roll.
This is on number which one?
TR 2022-85.
Okay. Leetta Sampson,
Yes.
Anthony Conde,
Yes.
John Narkemy,
Yes.
Rena Tiger,
Yes.
Terry Edwards,
Yes.
Ida Gonzalez,
Yes.
Nancy Fixico, Tamara Downey,
Oh, yes.
Leon Pete,
Yes.
Joseph Billy,
Yes.
Karen Fulbright,
Yes.
Ann Borba,
Yes.
Stephanie Lambert,
Yes.
Zena Yethlis,
Yes.
Lottie Cootie,
Yes.
Ella Coleman,
Yes.
Tiffany Thomas,
Yes.
Wayne Shaw,
Yes.
Catherine McCoy,
Yes.
Charlie Hill,
Yes.
Tiffany Cully,
Yes.
Danita Harjo,
Yes.
Willis Dethridge,
Yes.
Desiree Emerton.
Yes.
24 yes, 0 no, 0 abstain.
With a count of 24 yes, 0 no, 0 abstentions, I declare TR 2022-85 to have passed. TR 2022-86, A tribal resolution of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma approving a one-time distribution from the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 of $525 to each eligible tribal member for the purpose of household assistance in accordance with the state local fiscal recovery funds, SLFRF final rule. I entertain a motion to approve. Motion made by Representative Fulbright, seconded by Representative Borba. Discussion? Representative Shaw.
We didn't pass it for 500. What are you doing, bribing us with $25 now? Because you told us that was the final rule of 500 the last time. So I have a, $25 isn't gonna make that much difference in anybody's life, really, right now, with gas being high as it is. But, my bank felt like it was a slap in the face that you offered us $25 more, kind of like a little bribe. So I'm bringing that out. I don't feel the $25 is worth my vote to say yes.
It's not $25, it's $525. You know what?
Offered $500 the last time. It was voted down. Now you're offering $525, which is $25 more than you did the last time. And you told us that was the final rule the last time.
$25 is not that far off of 25. I would not recommend going much any higher at all on this because of the final rule.
But
$25, and I want to make this plain and clear, we couldn't have brought the $500 back because to do it under new business, it needs to be different than what already had failed. So it's under new business because of that $25. And just for the membership, does anyone have any idea what $25 is when you times it by the amount of people that we distributed? $500,000. So,
what I'm getting at, sir, is that you told us 500 the last time was final rule.
I said it was very close to the threshold. Okay. That was actually why
But
comment.
we still have not been able to see that in black and white. What is the final rule? So
I'll read part of the final rule right here. It's found on page 90 of the Congressional Act. And assessing whether a transfer is talking about the interim final rule included as an enumerated eligible use cash assistance and provided that cash transfers must be reasonably proportional to the negative impact they address and may not be grossly in excess of the amount needed to address the impact. In assessing whether a transfer is reasonably proportional, recipients may consider and take guidance from the per person amounts previously provided by the federal government in response to COVID-19 crisis. And that reasonable response by the ARPA was $1,400 by the United States Treasury, United States government. Let's see, Representative Borba, then Representative Petit.
Call for question.
Representative Petit had his hand up.
Chair, and I'm going to direct this to the Attorney General, I had asked for clarification, or if we can get some kind of definitive answer from the U.S. Treasury as to what is actually a reasonable proportionate response, as that's language in this resolution. Would it be possible for us to send a letter, if the council agrees, to the U.S. Treasury and ask them to give us a definitive answer as to what that amount would be, so that we could go back to the people and ask them or explain to them, this is all under our Article 5, we could have allotted you anyway?
The Treasury we could ask, but the Treasury will most likely not give us a response because it depends on the facts and circumstances of your area. And so they have given us guidance. Chief has stated what the guidance was, but to get a definitive bright line number, I would seriously doubt as to whether Treasury would give us that. Okay, Assistant Chief just handed me the rule is 427 pages, and he handed me the section out of the rule. Reasonably proportional refers to the scale of the response compared to the scale of the harm. So we have to determine what our harm is. It also refers to the targeting of the response to the beneficiaries compared to the amount of harm they experienced. For example, it may not be reasonably proportional for a cash assistance program to provide assistance in a very small amount to a group that experienced severe harm, and in a much larger amount to a group that experienced relatively little harm. In evaluating whether a use is reasonably proportional, recipients should consider relevant factors about the harm identified and the response. For example, recipients may consider the size of the population impacted and the severity, type, and duration of the impact. Recipients may also consider the efficacy, cost effectiveness, and time to delivery of the response. And if anyone wants to see the entire final rule, please let me know, and I will either get it printed and mailed to you because it is so large, or I will email it to you.
It is accessible on the council portal.
Okay,
But
thank you.
we're taking these from page 90, which I read, and she's taking it from page 26 in that final rule, if you want to look that up. But repeating what I said, consider and take guidance from the per-person amounts previously provided by the federal government in response to COVID-19 crisis. And this is speaking of the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, because this is in ARPA, that congressional act in the final rules. So we have repeated this over and over and over again since June. And the thing about it for our tribal members, it is the duty of the chief to protect this nation in a manner and a way that we don't get, Office of Inspector General coming down on us because somebody wants to drive a certain amount. The only reason this has come back is because the council, though they voted against it at the last council meeting, they tabled it 2 other times. So it has been before the council since June. So your chairman of the council and chief of the Seminole Nation has sponsored this to come back. So we're there at the question. Are you calling for question again, Representative Borba? I know you called for it earlier. Did you have your hand up? Okay,
Chair, I don't think
Representative
I don't think
Harjo.
I've yielded
I don't
back
want to
yet.
keep anybody from commenting. Representative Petit,
I
you
still
didn't
have
yield
the
the floor,
floor.
you're saying?
I still have the floor. And
Okay.
I want to ask a question of you as the chair. You'd stated previously the $1,400. Is that not the amount that is related to the stimulus check associated with ARPA funds, which is also similar to that which was in the CARES Act?
That was no, that wasn't the CARES Act. That was that's under Biden's administration. Under Biden's administration. Under Trump's administration, yes, there was a couple of distributions given up to all eligible Americans, across the board. Under Biden, it was $1,400. Remember, we discussed this in band chiefs meeting at the time where, nobody wanted to give any kind of distribution out, or maybe on the guideline of $1,400. Choctaw Nation did that with their children, and they did it in different fiscal years, 700 one part of the year, 700 another part of the year for the next fiscal years. What we tried to do to protect the nation was divide that first distribution up to cover fiscal year 21 and 22. And that's why it was recommended that if this was to pass, it would start October 1, which would be fiscal year 23. So that's where we're at right now. Representative Harjo?
I'll yield the floor then.
Thank you. It's sometimes hard to see who has the floor unless they're standing, and I know because the mic situation, we decided to everybody's seat. So definitely wasn't, the chair trying to not acknowledge you. Representative Harjo.
I wanted to add a friendly amendment to change the date to September the 3rd, 2022, born on or before.
The date is September the 4th, 2021. The friendly amendment is to change that. It is to September 22nd on this day. Is that amendment accepted? No. By the first motion and the second motion, it's denied. That amendment's denied. Because it's denied, we can go back to the amendment itself and vote on it, okay? Because the ones who made the motion denied that amendment, and the second also denied that friendly amendment. Now we can go back and vote on the council floor for that amendment. So the amendment states that to change the date from the original resolution from 2000, the date you had to be born or eligible to enroll as a tribal member as of 9/4/2021. The amendment is wanting to change it to today's date, which is 93-22. Okay, I hope I didn't confuse anybody with that, but 93-22 is what we're going.
Born on or before, yeah, yes.
Representative McCoy, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I just had a question. I thought the question was called for, and now you're allowing a friendly amendment to the resolution?
What happened is I don't want to eliminate any discussion on the floor. And I know that usually you would go to the question, but also there's courtesy, at least precedent set on this tribal council, that if there's still questions as far as what we would call discussion, and I don't know what's going to come out of any representative's mouth, but that's what came out of Representative Harjo was an amendment.
Well, the reason I asked is because my band wanted me to make a friendly amendment to that resolution as well.
We're already voting on this one right here.
Okay.
And the only thing that this is voting on is not the amount. The amount stays at 525, but the date of the eligibility is asking to be changed to 9/3/2022. The original resolution was 9/4/2021, okay? Everyone understand?
Chair, even if the sponsor, that we've made the motion and second, refuse the amendment, you can still bring it to the floor?
Well, that's what a friendly amendment is. You have a chance to
Then why
accept it.
ask?
If you don't accept it, then it can go back to the floor. I believe that's the processes of amendments. Attorney General, as far as rules of order, no, this ain't the Constitution. I'm not talking about the Constitution here, but that's the process.
The amendment does go to the floor.
Yes, that's
And-
why it's before us today. Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, Secretary, this
We're
is for
voting
that
on-
amendment,
to the
and it's
amendment?
changing the date on this resolution from 9/4/2021 to 9/3/2022, which.
Who
that's what-
seconded that motion?
We had amendment and second by Cully, Representative Cully.
Okay.
Okay, that's where we're at. That's what we're voting for. On. Secretary?
Leetta Sampson,
No.
Anthony Conley,
No.
John Narkemy,
No.
Rena Tiger,
No.
Terry Edwards,
No.
Ida Gonzalez,
No.
Nancy Fixico, Tamara Downing,
No.
Leon Pete,
No.
Joseph Billy,
No.
Karen Fulbright,
No.
Ann Borba,
No.
Stephanie Lambert,
Yes.
Senior Yetis,
Yes.
Lottie Cootie,
Yes.
Ella Coleman,
No.
Tiffany Thomas,
No.
Wayne Shaw,
No.
Catherine McCoy,
No.
Charlie Hill,
No.
Tiffany Cully,
Yes.
Danita Harjo,
Yes.
Willis Dethridge,
No.
Desiree Emerton,
No.
5 yes and 19 no.
With a count of 5 yes, 19 no, that amendment fails, and we're back to the original motion. TR 2022-86. I see Representative Hill's hand. Representative Hill?
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, you've got to make a comment, might not go too far. But all the numbers and all that is taken to the 545 silver. We've got all the way up to right now, we'll check the radiation, 3,500, Seminole Nation is the only tribe, 38 tribes, that we have in the state of Oklahoma. Income of $2,000. Comment for the 2,000 people in Seminole Nation, people in both cities, okay? However, when we look out for our people as a leader within our position, we have to put aside greed. Greed is what you call putting other things first before your people. You gotta understand one thing. Since you became chief, you know, we have allocated a lot of money from the ARPA money, other departments, et cetera, fixing it up, improving, et cetera. You people gotta keep in mind, okay, the year that we're in today, the humans that we have called Seminole Nation people, they come first before materialistic items. Everything that we're putting out here allocated for materialistic, we're gonna take the time. Those things are materialistic, they can always be replaced. Like human beings will never be replaced once they're gone, okay? That's what we need to look out for our people, from the young ones all the way to the elderly people such as myself and others that are in here. They come first than anything else. However, if we want to turn it around, then so be it, okay? Go with your policies on it, read it, okay? Go ahead and get what you need. But every person out there that only going to receive $525 if we vote on, y'all are hurting it real bad, okay? Y'all can hear me out. Y'all don't like the way what I'm saying, you know that? You can go ahead and scratch me off on that 525, okay? It ain't gonna hurt you at all, period. Y'all can think about it. Y'all are representing 28 of y'all, count myself here. Some of y'all don't even hear the price, okay? Because y'all don't really get it. Y'all only care about yourself.
Point of order.
Yeah. Okay,
Disrespectful.
if I recall right, we had an Osceola Tallahassee Days in the year of 2015. There was some talk about, our mineral rights, which had the potential possibility of $100 million settlement. Already in that meeting, that was all planned to give out $4,000 to each tribal member, and it was promoted as that. When I stood and shared as the assistant chief of this nature, do not be filling people's hopes. What you don't know that you're going to receive that. But it was promoted during that time. And I want to share something with you. The executive office doesn't allocate any of these funds. It comes right here to the general counsel. And you'll see on my report online that there were 18 measures that was passed by the general counsel of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma in different areas and different arenas. So the executive office does not allocate these funds. The general counsel of the Seminole Nation actually does that. Representative Cootie.
On that same order, and I'm hearing from tribal members that are saying, why did the churches get 25,000? There was no question about it. It just went out. And one of the things that I'm being told that churches are nonprofit organizational, and that be a write-off. I want to ask the Attorney General, if those monies are a write-off, does that money come back to the tribe, and where will the money go?
The Seminole Nation of Oklahoma is not a taxable entity, so there would be no point in making a tax-deductible donation to a church, and there would be no write-off.
And so that means, Chief, who made us, this isn't to give 25,000, but I have nothing against churches. I think they can deserve help and everything, but at the same time, a lot of the churches got the monies, and we're hearing rumors as usual, vacation and all these other things. So I don't know that to be true because I haven't seen it. But our people seem to think that the churches are more important to us than them as members. And like I said again, we as council representatives sitting right here because the people appointed us to be here, and the chief was elected to service the people. So we've been in this rut for years and years. I've been back off and on since 1995, and I really haven't seen. And all of us that are sitting here, we have served in one capacity or another, and we do not move forward. We say the same thing over and over. You know, I'm getting old to hear this again and again. I'm hoping that something will happen with this nation. I see other tribes, and we talk about them improving and moving on and everything, but all of us stand here and said, let's work together. Let's work together. You can see the way we vote, who votes what and how. And you know exactly who's going to vote how and whatever. We don't work together. And that's one of the things that somebody said, communication. We don't have communication. A lot of you don't call me. I don't call you. That's not a communication. If we care about our tribal members, let's take a look at ourselves. For 500, like Charlie said, there's a lot of elders out here raising their grandchildren. The price of food's gone up, the gas has gone up. You know, we don't think about them. Some of us are working. We can make little dollars here and there and support ourselves. We don't look at the people out there, out in the countries. I deliver baskets on Thanksgiving Day, and you should see where they live. It makes me cry because, I mean, we're sitting here, we're supposed to be taking care of our people, are we not? Maybe I'm wrong. If I am, I'm sorry, but that's just how it is. And I'm a senior, and I think that some of you maybe don't care, but you're going to get there one day. So I appreciate it, Chief. Thank you.
I actually think that the council has moved on some things that have been very instrumental in assisting tribal members. When somebody has to bury one of their loved ones, the council approved, a $5,000 allocation instead of the $3,000 that we normally was during this time. Also, children are getting an additional doubling their amount that they're getting on clothing orders. So to remind the general counsel, it is the general counsel that these things are brought for. And I will say this because it's a matter of fact. During the last administration, not one time except but because of the determination of the Bureau of Indian Affairs did the CARES Act money come. No, nearly $20 million was spent never coming before this council. Everything that this administration has done has gone before this council. So don't say the executive office is allocating when it's brought here like it's supposed to be under the provisions of the way that we do things in this nation, and it passes at this level. If it passes, and if it fails at this level. Okay, that's where we're at. Representative Petit.
Chair, I appreciate you allowing more discussion and conversation to take place on this resolution. But I do want to call to the attention of this council, in Title 16, Rule 3.9, it reads, a call for question is a motion that will terminate all debate and bring to the membership a direct vote on the immediate question, provided that a quorum is present, that a 2/3 majority of the membership puts to the question to a vote without further debate. I think we've been avoiding that this past year since I've been on the council, that when questions called, we've stopped the opportunity for us as a council to vote to determine if we want to stop debate and go to a vote.
Well, there hasn't been any debate. There's no debate that's been done on this floor on this measure. These are comments. These are political statements. I call it as it is, and that's what they are. We're going back to the question here. Secretary, call the roll.
Leetta Sampson,
No.
Anthony Conley,
No.
John Narkemy,
Yes.
Rena Tiger,
Yes.
Terry Edwards,
No.
Ida Gonzalez,
Yes.
Nancy Fixico, Tamara Downey,
No.
Leon Pete,
No.
Joseph Billy,
No.
Karen Fulbright,
Yes.
Ann Borba,
Yes.
Stephanie Lambert,
Yes.
Sunia Yethlis,
Yes.
Lottie Cootie,
No.
Ella Coleman,
Yes.
Tiffany Thomas,
No.
Wayne Shaw,
No.
Catherine McCoy,
No.
Charlie Hill,
No.
Tiffany Cully,
Yes.
Danita Harjo,
Yes.
Willis Dethridge,
No.
Desiree Emerton.
No.
Let me recount this again. Eleven yes, 13 no.
Okay, well, TR 2022-86, the count is 11 yes, 13 no. Declare that TR 2022-86, the distribution to the tribal members to have failed. Distribution to tribal members has failed. TR 2022-86. We have TO, Tribal Ordinance 2022-06. A tribal ordinance of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma, amending Title 24, Chapter 1, Law Enforcement Division of the Seminole Nation Code of Laws. This is a tribal ordinance. I entertain a motion to get it on the floor or to approve to get it on the floor. I have a motion by Representative Petit. Are you making a second? Representative Shaw is second on that. The first was Representative Petit and seconded by Representative Shaw. So we're in discussion. This is code. Of course, the Attorney General drafted this, and she can explain what led up to this. It had to do with the jurisdictional issue, which was in the existing law that basically addressed restricted land and trust land only, and not the reservation status of within the exterior boundaries of the Seminole Reservation as it was deemed on April 1st of 2021. So, and that's correct, I believe, as far as the assessment is concerned. They needed some language that expanded that to the whole reservation, not just trust and restricted land. But she can explain it if you have questions. Any questions on that? We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Representative Dethridge?
The question I have is on section 102, where it says the original boundaries of the Seminole Nation Reservation. Which treaty are we talking about? 1856, 1866 treaty? Which is this original boundary? Let me clarify that. Is it 98% of Seminole County, or is it the 3 million acres from the South Canadian to the North Canadian and going west to the Texas state line? What is the boundary we're talking about in this legislation?
I believe the boundaries we were trying to identify in this are Seminole County, like you discussed first. But if there is a reason to expand it or make it smaller, we're open for ideas or discussion. I would hate to limit your reservation, but I would not want to make it so large that law enforcement cannot police it. So those are the concerns. The intent of the resolution is 98% of Seminole County, like you said.
Thank you, ma'am.
Our Constitution provides for us, if we have any fee lands outside of the exterior boundaries of now our reservation, to be able to have and hold as far as the Seminole Nation. If indeed in the future that happens, there may have to be some legislation changed. Okay, Representative Petit?
I think you may have just answered my question, but I was regarding Representative Deathridge's statement there. If in the event that the actual territorial jurisdiction of the Seminole Nation were to expand, would we as a council need to just come back and vote on new legislation to adapt to that?
I think that's why they, in essence, that's why they put the original boundaries. I know it's kind of leaving it broad when you say original boundaries, because the original boundaries of the Seminole Nation obviously is the properties that was talked about by Representative Deathridge. So if we are able to expand our service area in the future, and those measures are being discussed right now, and we have meetings that's going to be with the Secretary of Interior on these issues as well. So we're going to give it the best opportunity and presentation that we can as a Seminole Nation to expand our service area to our original initial reservation.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Representative Harjo?
Yeah, I just had a quick question. I know there's a lot of cost and stuff with this, and they had asked about would tribal courts be able to help with some of the offsetting of cost of contractual services for this?
This is basically so that Light Horse can patrol in other areas that's not designated at the present time. So it's going to incur everything within the exterior boundaries of our reservation and trust lands that we have. Everyone, I think, knows that we have many acres that our clinic sits on, as well as our tribal complex, that is in trust on behalf of the Seminole Nation by the United States of America, but technically it's in the boundaries of the Muskogee Creek Reservation. But it's still patrollable by our people. I know there was a lot of questions, by former Light Horse, whether we have jurisdiction. You bet, our Constitution says we do, So the Constitution is preeminent above any type of code. Now, as far as your question, we don't have the answer to that right now. Representative Shaw?
Are we presently holding court in Wewoka?
No.
Did we, I'm saying we, because of Seminole Nation, buy the old DHHS building over there?
That was the resolution that passed. So we moved forward with the intent of the council on that measure. Tribal administration, the court administration is there already. ASAP is there already, and there will be other programs moving there that.
Can we operate within the Muskogee Creek Nation, because that building sits on the other side of that boundary line?
We're not. It's a service area still by definition, but we're not conducting court there.
Now, what happens if the Muskogee Creek Nation comes up and says, we don't no longer want y'all doing your services over here? Get back across the line.
I suppose there can be a hypothesis for everything, that you could be, but I keep in great communication with Chief Hill on almost every measure that faces Indian country.
Now, it's not a hypothesis, because if Chief Cox would have been in there, I guarantee you we couldn't have bought that place. But that's the reason I'm asking. Now, is the Creek Nation receptive to us housing our prisoners at the county jail there? Because that is in Creek Nation territory.
What's your question, Representative Shaw? It's hard to hear you.
The Creek Nation, Muskogee Creek Nation, do they have any objections for us housing Seminole Nation prisoners or incarcerates at the county jail in Wewoka, because Wewoka's jailhouse is on the Muskogee Creek Reservation?
No, we have agreements with the Seminole Detention Center, the Potawatomi Detention Center, and Offusky Detention Center as well. And we haven't had any inquiries by the Muskogee Creek Nation into what you just asked. No, they're not objecting to it. Okay. Now we're back to the original question. Now, Attorney General, on this, I know you said within our original reservation, but we do have lands outside of that, the exterior boundary of the reservation, which is trust lands. I know it's covered by the Constitution. This code isn't interrupting that. It can't interrupt the Constitution, but what I'm saying, does that language need to be in there, or you said 98%? We have a little percent over there in the clinic and the tribal complex. Does anything need to be changed to make sure that it covers it?
I don't believe it does, because the current section says whether held in fee or trust and any other land that comes within the definition of Indian country.
Okay.
I believe it covers it, but if there's concern, we can rework it.
I believe it covers it, according to what you just stated. Representative McCoy.
Call for question.
Okay, no other discussion. Secretary, this is TO 2022-06. This is a tribal ordinance amendment to the Code of Laws. Yes. Go ahead.
Leota Sampson.
It's amending the language that was just stated. In the original language, it
Okay, I got you.
only governed trust and restricted land.
Got you. I just read it. Yes.
Anthony Conley,
Yes.
John Narcome,
Yes.
Rena Tiger,
Yes.
Terry Edwards,
Yes.
Ida Gonzalez,
Yes.
Nancy Fixico, Tamara Downey,
Yes.
Leon Pete,
Yes.
Joseph Billy,
Yes.
Karen Fulbright,
Yes.
Ann Borba,
Yes.
Stephanie Lambert,
Yes.
Sina Yethlis,
Yes.
Lottie Cootie,
Yes.
Ella Coleman,
Yes.
Tiffany Thomas,
Yes.
Wayne Shaw,
Yes.
Catherine McCoy,
Yes.
Charlie Hill,
Yes.
Tiffany Cully,
Yes.
Danita Harjo,
Yes.
Willis Dethridge,
Yes.
Desiree Emerson,
Yes.
24 yes, 0 no, 0 abstain.
24, with a count of 24 yes, 0 no, and 0 abstentions, I declare Tribal Ordinance 2022-06 to have passed. We have already addressed TR 2022-87 with the provisions already addressed by the council earlier when we went out of the order of the agenda. So we're in other business at this time that was added also to the agenda, other business, and it has to do with the Nuthka Parjo ban. Representative Cootie.
Chief, first question is, do you have any idea about how soon we'll be having a meeting on the secretaries? Are you gonna call a special call meeting? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, we're under other business, but that was made, I thought was made clear earlier that we're going to set a deadline so that we won't keep taking applications. And then we will set a special call meeting to interview the other candidates, because there's other candidates. We just got those candidates yesterday, so.
Okay. Thank you. What I really want to address is, seeing our, council representative, was that we had submitted some papers, and I was given the envelope to turn it in. I turned it in, and I had asked Chief if he had received it. And he said, no, he hadn't yet, but he was gonna look for it and everything. Then I saw him again at another meeting, and I had asked him if he had received those paperwork again. He said, no, but I'll make sure. He said, so I just figured everything was all in order in that paper, in the envelope that I turned in. Well, I just happened to call him for another reason. Well, he called back, and then I asked him if he got the paperwork, and he said no. So they started looking, and his secretary, I guess, found it, and they looked at it. And then Chief texted me later and said we had to do this and we had to do that and all that. So we went to talk to the secretary, and she was supposed to locate the paperwork, and she could not locate it. We were up there. I was up there, probably about 9. So she started looking for papers, and she didn't find it. So I left because I had a doctor appointment. And so later that evening, she called. She said, Lottie, I can't find those papers. I know it's here somewhere. He said, I got it. But he said, and see, the list, Chief said we didn't have a list of names and everything, and we did submit it. So when the secretary called me back, she said, Lottie, I cannot find those paperwork. And she proceeded to tell me that she had so many people that she was doing work for. She had secretary work, her work, and somebody else, and about 4 things, 4 people or 4 departments she had to take care of and everything. So my question was that if she's so busy, I don't know what to say, but we did turn the papers in, and if all the paperwork was not there, I'm sorry. But like I said again, I think that you need someone in there that's going to get those paperwork to you so that you can see and make, decisions and everything. So we will go ahead and get the right paperwork into you again. That's twice we've done that. So again, hopefully next meeting we'll be able to seat our representative. And I just wanted to say the secretary needs help or something. So.
Well, I got one question for Nuthka Parjo Band. Did Nuthka Parjo Band go under the provisions of Title 10, the Election Code? Did Nuthka Parjo Band reach out to the election board so that certification could be done? Did Nuthka Parjo pay the $15 fee that is it's there by tribal code? And what did Nuthka Parjo Band receive a background check?
I asked my sister if she did go, and she said they had gone. I don't know when.
That doesn't
or
answer,
what,
that doesn't answer my question. Did they work with the election board for those purposes?
She did go to the election board, and I remember her telling me that she had talked to Debbie. And that's all I know. I wasn't with her, so I'm just taking her word. So.
I would suggest that you go through the election board, let the election board send that over to the council secretary's office, and then it will get to the chairman of the council, and then it will be complete. There's a process in how this takes place, and every band at one point or another throughout the history of the Seminole Nation has went through this. So Nuthka Parjo is not immune.
I understand the process, so I'm saying I did not go to the election board to fill out paperwork or anything. You have to ask the person that went. So that's all I said.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm just clarifying, the process, and also where it ends up in the end. I didn't receive anything from the election board. And the only thing that I seen in paperwork were the minutes of August 12th of the Nuthka Parjo Band. Representative Hill?
Could not find documentation.
Therefore, how do we know it was not all there? You say that it was not properly processed. Yes, it was not properly processed. I totally agree with you. But how can it be processed when the secretary lost it? So what it goes down to is the fact that people that are assigned different positions within the Seminole Nation need to know what they're doing and keep exactly on track of what they're supposed to do, not putting the things aside or thinking about it, or getting at our people. So all the paperwork is serious. Then the young lady should have been sworn in today as a council rep.
I contacted the election board and there was no certification done, okay? So those types of documents does not come to the executive office to the executive assistant. Right now, everybody knows we don't have a council secretary. So during that process, there you go. Yeah, I will say this, had the election board send me the documents with their certification, background check, $15, the minutes, the sign-in sheet, all those things that are required when a ban is filling a vacancy under the election code, I would have taken it and seated her. I'm not trying to keep somebody from being seated, but I do appreciate your comment, though. I will say this, when I was first informed about it, and Representative Cootie did bring it to my attention, I assumed that everything was done properly and it's coming to the chairman of the council so I can get it before the council and get that seat, seated. They need. We're looking at when they do the process properly and then the election board sends it to the chairman of the council. If they get their documents in and it gets certified by the next council meeting, that's when it will take place. At the next council meeting. That's going to be in the next couple of weeks because we're going to address budgets. We're going to spend one whole meeting on budgets. Okay. No, we're not going. We'll have a different. We can't put those things together. It's just too much. Okay, that's the agenda, folks. Appreciate you coming out today. Representative Downey? Representative Downey?
Yes, I have a question. There was in our emails, we had got a complaint from, well, I'm not going to say her name, but I'm sure everybody's got the email, from a tribal member, and she was referring to the CD tribal enrollment. I don't know what the protocol is for addressing that.
Yeah, that protocol's not here.
Okay, well, that's what I'm asking.
Yes,
So will it be addressed?
it's already been addressed.
Excuse me?
It's already been addressed. But that protocol's not here. It's not before the
Okay, I can't
council.
hear you.
The protocol is not here before this governing body. The protocol is through the processes of HR as well as the director of that program. If it's the same thing I'm thinking of.
Well, I don't know what you're
I'm not
thinking.
sure, and you're not saying it, and I don't think you probably should say it. It has to do with enrollment?
Tribal enrollment, yes.
Okay, yeah, it's not to be addressed here, at this level. In closing, obviously, this is the annual report, and it's not very long. I do have additional documents, like the ARPA funding, what has been appropriated up to this far and what's left. I also have the number of employees that have been hired in the Seminole Nation since a year ago, and in percentage breakdown, there are some people that were obviously here and add to that percentage of the breakdown. But I'll read this. 1 year ago, the Seminole Nation ushered in another change in administrations. Also, several new seats were filled by the bands for their council representation. As a nation, we were facing an unprecedented period in contemporary history. Seminole tribal members were experiencing an unproportional negative financial economic impact due to COVID-19 pandemic. Several attempts were made by many of the former council representatives to assist the members. The available funds to be considered for such assistance were the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA funds. These funds were deposited in a single bank account in May of 2021 by the former administration. The efforts to assist tribal members failed to be addressed until September 4th, 2021. The new administration desired to assist the Seminole members as soon as practically possible. The General Counsel approved the household assistance legislation during the inaugural meeting of 9/4/2021, and it became the first enactment under the new administration. The next few months will become a challenge for several reasons, the main one being the system of transition from one administration to the successor. The very important process between exiting and entering administrations, which is essential to assure the normal business of the nation continues during such times. There is limited language provided in tribal code pertaining to the treasurer, but no specific processes for the executive office. Why is this so instrumental for succeeding tribal administrations? In all administrations, there are portals set up across the wide spectrum of the federal agencies who are the funding source of grants, contracts for programs and departments of the Seminole Nation. Also for submissions for available funding and reports of the COVID relief funds, a special portal was developed by the United States Treasury. These diverse business mechanisms are essential for the daily continual business of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma. The current executive office will bring proposed legislation to require specific language of processes for executive officers and the tribal treasurer during transitions of tribal government to be considered by the governing body to be placed into tribal code. This measure, if passed, will assure proper and smooth transition in the future. Entering office in September, certain programs and departments were already reduced to minimum of staff, such as ICW and Lighthorse. This brought concern pertaining to existing signed contracts between federal agencies and the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma. These issues were present prior to the transition of tribal government. The Lighthorse during this time was in jeopardy of having their patrol vehicles confiscated because of outstanding invoices that went back for months prior to the transition. The reason was certain reports were not submitted, which caused suspension of the grant that was to provide payment for these vehicles. Many of you remember the push to try to get several $100,000 from TC&S during that period of time to bring on 3 more light horse patrolmen. What we have found out is that that was not done, and that also the funds were trying to be adjusted to pay for tribal vehicles, tribal light horse vehicles. So that did happen. The new administration worked to get the federal reports updated with the agencies. These funds' accessibility was reestablished and the suspension lifted. Therefore, the issue was resolved during this period. We expedited filling the vacant positions with light horse and eventually staffed ICW as well. A lot of contracts through the BIA were being requested to be renewed. This required several meetings with the different divisions, diverse divisions of the BIA. Executive office and staff worked continuously on these new contracts prior to submitting them to the General Counsel for approval. Within the first 6 weeks, from September to the second week of October of 2021, many inquiries of outstanding invoices and billings were brought to the attention of the treasurer. One was taxes due, which was nearly $90,000. The nation was contacted by banking institutions with notifications to the Seminole Nation of delinquent status of certain loans which needed immediate attention. The largest was the PPP loan of $1.8 million. The payments on the loan were to be started months prior to the transition of administrations. When the banking institution brought it to the attention of the treasurer and the current executive officers, it was a total surprise and astonishing to all that such a loan was established without any legislative approval. The new council was informed that mute that channel, please. When the banking institution brought it to the attention of the treasurer and the current executive officers, it was total surprise and astonishing to all that such a loan was established without any legislative approval. The new council was informed, and the enacted measures and agreements to begin payment was approved by the council. During our efforts to gain the forgiveness of the loan, executive office reached out to Senator James Lankford and met with his staffers about the loan forgiveness. We believe Senator Lankford was instrumental in impacting the forgiveness of the Seminole Nation's obligation to this loan. The other issues with existing loans were also resolved. During this time, the Fall Scholarship Program of 2021 was in full swing for higher education, and identifying the available funds for the fiscal year we were presently operating within came up short. There was not sufficient funding to meet the needed amount for the applications received. The General Counsel appropriated additional $50,000 to make up for the shortfall. It was revealed in an earlier FY19 grant that there was available education funding, and we were able to meet the need. As we searched through all higher education funding years, we discovered $150,000 was taken from the ATG CARES funds, was used to supplement a former shortage in higher education. These funds would have to be reclassified and placed back into the original fund that they were taken from. The pandemic supplemental funding, along with many pressing issues with McGirt, perhaps caused lack of oversight and or attention in several areas. This occurred in several programs such as Child Care and Development Fund, CCDF, and areas of construction and discretionary line items. Working to resolve these issues early in the new administration reserved nearly $500,000 in this program, but non-execution of available funding for FY 2018 and FY 2019 within the processes of obligation and liquidation has indeed taken an effect on this program. However, the Cornwall Child Care Center, which was in danger of being lost, is secured, as well as the 2023 Bark and Waters Child Care Center is expected to be underway next year around July for a new child care facility. The Executive Office continues to work with other COVID relief funds that were program specific. What I mean by that, all during the past few years, there was some concerned council members that was saying, how are we tracking those program specific COVID relief funds? Well, a lot was going on then, I suppose. So we're taking care of it now and trying to get it expended before it has to be sent back to the federal government. And we don't want that at all. So there just was a standstill. In other words, with the CARES Act funds, most everything was being taken care of that original allocation to the Seminole Nation when some of these programs had CARES Act funds as well and could have utilized those funds for hazard pay and an assortment of many other things. But much of that pay came out of the Seminole CARES Act appropriation. So therefore, there's still a lot of money in many of these programs, and they have deadlines to be spent, and we are trying to meet those deadlines. There continue to be meetings conducted with other tribal leaders pertaining to the state of Oklahoma, challenging the Supreme Court decision in McGirt, and there are constant attacks to overturn or limit the decision. The tribal nations will continue to have such challenges in several areas between the state and tribal nations' relationships with the state. This election year of 2022 is vitally important if Indian country is to see improvement within the government-to-government relations. Since the beginning of the term in September of 2021, the American Rescue Plan Act funds began the initial appropriation through resolutions passed by the General Counsel with TR 2021-29, the Household Assistance to Tribal Members, and that was that $2,000 allocation. There will be other resolution totaling 18 that was passed and approved by the General Counsel. Reference to these resolutions and the appropriation totals are represented on a separate sheet at the end of the report. Grants confirmed and others pending add up to approximately $20 million plus in areas such as broadband expansion throughout the reservation, capital projects funds, and other funding that is being provided. The Seminole Nation will continue to position ourselves for progress. This is possible by all branches of government. Continue to work for the benefit and the well-being of our tribal members. Respectfully, Louis J. Johnson, Chief of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma. I do want you to know that on the portal, you will have what we are in the process of negotiating the indirect cost rate. Prior to 2017, that was 34%. It is presently 24%. We already have projections that we're going to be able to increase that rate possibly 3 to 4 points this first negotiation time. So we hope and we hope that that does happen. But you have the breakdown there on the web, on the portal. So you do have other things like the breakdown of the funding of the ARPA and the different council resolutions that were passed for those appropriations. And you also have a breakdown of our tribal employment. We have increased tribal employment up to about 93 at this point, and it's going to help to raise that indirect cost as well. And we believe we're right there on the bridge of really having what we call all the key operating positions filled. We have a new program development person coming in on Tuesday, and we believe that he's going to able to help the nation even more so than the last program developer who was, who was beneficial for this nation during his term as well. So I appreciate your attention and your also your patience for listening to me out. But thank you for serving the Seminole Nation as well. We may not always agree here on this floor on every measure, but when we leave this place, we are Seminole people who live and together, and we grieve together when we lose our loved ones. And I just want to make an announcement. On Tuesday the 13th, we're going to have a special gathering in remembrance of all those who we have lost due to the pandemic. There will be a monument of some type that will be placed on these grounds, as well as there'll be a special program. We all have lost somebody. There's no doubt about that. And we want this to be maybe a start to healing during this process. So God bless each and every one of you, and may God continue to bless the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma. Entertain a motion to adjourn. No objections to adjournment. We stand adjourned.